Guys, welcome back to the channel Style by C. Today's tutorial will be on how to make this beautiful piece. Just subscribe to the channel, share to friends, give us a thumbs up. Okay, thank you.
So guys, the first thing I did was to fold my pattern paper into two. Alright, so having folded the pattern paper into two, I'll go ahead and draft my basic A-line shape. Alright, so now I'm going to be marking my shoulder measurements here. This is serving as my start point line and my shoulder measurements. Okay, this is my armhole. How to create my armhole. This 1 inch down is for shoulder slope. So your armhole, what you do is you divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 inches to get your armhole. Or better still, you use your shoulder measurement to get your armhole. Alright, okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and create my armhole curve, divide it by 2, come in by half an inch. Alright, so this is me creating my armhole curve. Here is going to be serving as my chest line. Okay, so this is my armhole, this is my chest line. The next thing I'm going to mark now is my half length, which is at 16.5 or 16 inches. That is the waist. My bust point, which is at 11.5 inches. Okay, then my hip line, which is at 24. Though we may not necessarily be using the hip line, we are just going to work with the bust points and the waistline or half line. So now I'm going to go ahead and insert my bust measurements on my chest line. So I have 8.5 inches plus 2 inches sewing allowance or seam allowance. Then on my half length, which is at 16, I'm going to go ahead and insert my waist measurement, which is 7 inches plus 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, then I'm going to connect the points together. So from here now, I'm connecting to this point. All right, now from here I'm going to be making an A-line shape. That is, from my half length, I'm going to make an A-line curve down to the bottom of my pattern paper. Now my pattern paper is not full. I'm going to go ahead and add an additional paper to this part of my paper. All right, so just rolling a little. So at this point I'm gonna head to attach my pattern, another extra paper to it. And I'm going to be connecting it from my half length, which is my waistline. I'm going to connect it to the bottom part of my pattern paper. Okay, now I used about 15 inches on the bottom part to create this A-line. That is, from this bottom part I have about 15 inches. I don't want it to be too pronounced. So this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Now for our neck area, I'm going to be using 3 inches for the depth of my front, and for the back depth I'm going to be working with 2 inches. So go ahead and cut out your pattern. So this is what we have for our pattern. Now I'm going to be using this to cut out my front piece and my back piece. Alright, but my back piece is going to be having a zipper allowance. I'm going to be inserting a zipper allowance to it. So let's get started. So at this point now, I've placed my pattern paper on top of my fabric, which is folded into two. I have about 1 inch extra at the bottom part. That is for my seam allowance because my pattern paper is not, like, the length is not enough for what I want. Alright, so that's why I added extra 1 inch at the bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Okay, so this is what we have for our front. I decided to separate it from the pattern paper. Now for this bottom part, it's not going to be, this area is not going to be as sharp as it is. I'm going to be making a curve inside, so I'm going to be coming up by 1.5 inches. You can decide to go up by 2 inches, which is totally fine. I'm going to be curving it into the fabric. So I'll go ahead and create this curve. Alright, so now I'm going to be using this to cut out my back piece. Alright, so I've gone ahead to cut out my front and back piece. This is my front and this is the back piece. So I have about 1.5 inches for my zip allowance. Alright, so you can decide to use 2, but 1.5 is okay. 2 is also fine. So for the depth of the neck, the width of the neck is 3 inches. For the depth, for the back piece, I'm going to be working with 1.5 inches deep. And for the front, I'm going to be working with 3 inches. Alright, so now I'm going to curve it to my, then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So this is what we have. Alright, so now we're going to be cutting out, because if you notice there is a lap in front, we're going to be cutting out that piece. So we'll introduce our pattern paper back. At this point, I've gone ahead to open up my pattern paper, and this is what we have. Alright, so now from the center point of our pattern paper, which is here, I'm going to be marking about 4 inches. You can decide to mark 3 inches. 3 to 4 inches is okay. So I'm going to be working with 3 inches. So I'm going to mark it till I get to the bottom part of my, then I'm going to go ahead and connect it using a rule. Alright. So this is what I have. Now I'm going to cut it off. Alright, so I'm going to make it slanting. Now my own is on a straight line. You can decide to maybe give it a curve or slant it. The choice is totally yours on what you want to do. It is fine. You can decide to like give it a little stylish design. I think this design I'm doing here is really fine. Okay, so the choice is totally yours on what you want to do. decify it the way you want. All right, so should we try this? What do you guys think? Yeah, so let's see how it goes. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So I'm just cutting this straight one for this. I'm not sure of this style I'm using it. I don't know if I can be. I don't know if it will give me. All right, but you can decide to style yours. So along the line, I can decide to make it this curve. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out this on a pattern paper. Then I'm going to be cutting a line for each of my pieces. Alright. So now I'm going to be cutting out my sleeve. I went ahead to fold my fabric on a fold, triangular form. Alright, so this is what I have on the triangular form. So from the tip, I'm going to be marking about 25 to 26 inches long. Alright. I want the sleeve to be longer, so I'm going to be using 28. Though it's still going to be having a band. Oh, 28 is okay. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it round. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Then from here, I'm going to be forming my sleeve angle. So first of all, I'm going to cut this out. Let's cut out this shape. Alright, so this is what we have. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to create my arm shape at this tip of my at this point of my sleeve. All right, so this is what I'm going to be having. So this is what my sleeve is going to look like. I'll go ahead and notch it. Then I'm going to cut out another piece for the other sleeve because it's going to be two sleeves. So at this point, I've gone ahead to cut out lining for each of my pieces, my back piece, my front piece, and the overlap in front. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and join my lining to my pieces together. So first thing first I'm going to do is I'm going to run a stitch at the bottom part of my down, the bottom part of the down of the lining and the fabric, and on the two sides. All right. I'm not touching the shoulder, the armhole, and the neck. These I'm going to do to all my pieces, both the back, front. That's both the back and the overlap. Okay, so go ahead and do this. All right, guys. At this point, I've gone ahead to join my lining pieces together. The next thing I'm going to be doing. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is I went ahead to join my lining pieces to my fabrics. So this is my front. I went ahead and place the overlap on top of it. All right, now I'm going to introduce my shoulder, my back pieces, the shoulders. I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch on it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. All right, so the next thing I went ahead to cut out is the band that is going to be on my wrist. All right, so my wrist measurement is 7 inches. I worked to it, I think about 8 inches. Okay, my wrist is 8 inches. I added extra 1 inch to it, making it 9 inches. Okay, so you can decide to add 1.5 to yours, which is totally fine. So this is what I have. That's the band that is going to be here, and this is the sleeve we cut out already. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and gather this my sleeve on this piece I'm using for my wrist. Okay, just place it on top, gather your sleeve, the bottom part of your sleeve to it. I also went ahead and cut out a band that is going to be on the sleeve, like a rope. We're going to be having a rope on the sleeve, so you can make it as long as you want it to be. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn it out, fold it. At this area I made a slit, like a slant on it, to give it this slanty shape. This area I made a slant to give it a slanty shape. So now I'm going to go ahead and close it up, then turn it out. Alright, so I've gone ahead to join my band to my sleeve, and this is what I have. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and join the sleeve to my dress, to the shoulder of my dress. Now this is the second band, that's the one that is going to be like a strap at the bottom part of it. So what I have to do is to join it here while shaping my dress. I'll go ahead and shape it together with the sleeve. So after joining my shoulder, my sleeve to the shoulder, I'll go ahead and shape my dress. So the next thing I'm going ahead to cut out is the cape, or the collar that is going to be on the neckline. So I'm going to be using 5 inches. On a fold is going to be 2.5 inches. All right, so that's what I'm going to be working with. But before then, I'm trimming this off. I'm going to remark my line. So from here now, I'm going to mark my 5 inches. So this is what I have, right? And I'm going to slit it open. All right, now I'm going to be closing it up. But before then, I'm going to bring my neckline, my main dress. So this is my dress. I've gone ahead to use a stitch to hold all of them, all the pieces together. All right, now this is, let's take for instance, this is one piece of the band, which is going to start from the zip line. You're going to run it from the zip line until you get to this point. This is the point where the overlap stops. All right, so this is where it's going to stop. I'm going to go ahead and notch it, give it a notch. This is to signify that I'm going to be closing this part up. All right, so at this place where the notch is, that's where I'm going to be stopping. Then for the other band, I'm going to pick it up from this zip line, from this side. Now I'm also going to go ahead and run a stitch on it, and I'm going to stop it at where my lap line stops, or the overlap, the overlap of the front is. So I'll go ahead and also notch it. So now I worked with 2.5. You can decide to work with 2 inches, you can decide to work with 3, depending on how bold is looking. But I think I'm going to be reducing it to 2 inches. All right, because I don't want it to be too choky on my neck. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce this to 2 inches.